This is the second video in a three-part series where I'm discussing the two Georgetown law professors that found themselves in some trouble over some comments made in a private Zoom session. We're going to find out that the situation is a little more complex than I discussed in part one. Hello out there. I'm trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
So here's an article posted in the Washington Post. Georgetown law professor terminated after reprehensible comments about black students. A Georgetown law professor was terminated and a second was placed on leave after a video clip showed a conversation between the pair that included what an official called reprehensible statements about black students. The conversation between adjunct professors Sandra Sellers and David Batson had triggered an investigation by Georgetown University's Office of Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Affirmative Action. The school's Black Law Students Association had called for Sellers' firing. Now, it's important to understand something here. These are adjunct professors. If they had gone to the administration and said, we have a couple of law professors said something horrible in class, they would have said, yeah, okay, whatever. Here's a little form you can fill out and we'll take a look at it. Because professors, tenured, can't do nothing to them. As soon as they found out that these were adjuncts, they're like, oh my gosh, this is a serious problem. We got to take care of this. We can't have these racist professors in our classroom. We're going to have to terminate them and tell the public that we are sorry. We apologize for this. So this is how it works at the university level. It's a caste system. You have tenure track and non-tenure track, and then you have adjuncts, which are way down there, okay? Adjunct professors make probably about minimum wage. And they make around $30 an hour for seat time. But that doesn't include all the prep and the grading and all that. So when you factor it in, you're looking at about $15 an hour. Now, Georgetown may pay more, I don't know, but usually adjunct professor positions are really bottom barrel. There are two types that I know that take those positions. You have some people who have pretty good jobs elsewhere, and they want to just do a little teaching because it's kind of fun. So they get a job as an adjunct. They teach after hours, and for one class and stuff like that. And there are other people who just simply can't get anything. They have got PhDs. They can't find any work anywhere, and so they pick up these adjunct positions, and they might even have a whole bunch of them. It is a terrible job. So the fact that they're adjuncts means that they're at-will employees. They can be fired, and therefore the university can terminate them and make itself look good. And so they can terminate them, get on there, say, we took action immediately. If it was a tenured professor, not going to happen. The video clip, which was shared on Twitter this week, showed Sellers discussing student performance. Right, when we heard that.
They were a bit jumbled.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can put it. It's like, okay, let me reason through that, what you just said, kind of thing. Yeah, right. Unfortunately. And you know what? I hate to say this. I end up having this, angst every semester that a lot of my lower ones are blacks. Happens almost every semester. And it's like, oh, come on. Get some really good ones, but there are also usually some that are just plain at the bottom. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Law Center Dean William Triner said Thursday that he informed Sellers she was terminated and that she had indicated she had planned to resign. Batson was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. The dean said the incident underscores the school's needs for more anti-bias training. Are you kidding me? The anti-bias training that you guys have already been making all your professors go through tells them to have these kind of conversations. The mistake was recording it and posting it online. It wasn't having the conversation. You show me any university where the professors don't talk about the low performance of their students. And it turns out that the low performing student here was a black student, and evidently this is a common problem. Now, in my previous video, I discussed why that can be. He said officials are taking steps to ensure that students in Sellers and Batson's class are graded fairly. So these are both professors on one class, which is kind of odd. I don't think I've ever seen that too much. Co-teaching, I suppose. Sellers shared a resignation letter with the Washington Post in which he apologized for the hurtful and misdirected remarks that were part of a longer discussion about patterns in class participation. You're a law professor. You don't do this. Any chance you had of recourse are gone now. Because if your remarks were hurtful and misdirected, you're pretty much admitting that you made a mistake, but you didn't. At least nothing I have heard indicates that you violated any kind of protocol other than posting the comments online. I would never do anything to intentionally hurt my students or Georgetown law, and I wish I could take back my words. Oh, lady, you're supposed to have a law degree. Sellers said in the letter, regardless of my intent, I have done irreparable harm, and I am truly sorry for this. You just opened yourself up for civil litigation. Not that that's going to happen. I'm just saying that this whole idea of regardless of my intent, I have done harm. Oh man, you never put that in writing. Law professors, not that it would make any difference. I mean, as an at-will employee, an adjunct professor, they can go ahead and get rid of her. She is completely dispensable. Batson did not immediately respond to a request for comment Thursday. He was a little smarter. Now here's the guy, Hassan Ahmad. Trouble. A Georgetown law student who posted clips of the remarks on Twitter said the conversation happened at the conclusion of a negotiations class around February 21st that was being recorded so that students could view it later. Sellers and Batson stayed on the call after students left, so their conversation was recorded as well. Okay, so here was the mistake made. And I have to explain how this works because a lot of you haven't conducted these kind of Zoom sessions. So you normally rig it to where when you have a online Zoom meeting, it records automatically. Or you can turn it on, you can turn on the recording after it starts. Now, when you exit the meeting, that's when it will go ahead and stop the recording and start the conversion process. It does that automatically. A lot of professors get very complacent about this, and instead of stopping the recording manually, they just terminate the class knowing that it's going to terminate the recording automatically. And if you get comfortable doing that, you can sometimes end up, after your class is over, having students hang around and forgetting to turn off the recording. It happens all the time. And so a student will get on there and say, oh, I'm having problems with my class. I got an F on the last paper, and this is all being recorded. And then the professor exits the meeting, doesn't even think, oh, shoot, all of that is going to be on the video. Okay? Understandable what this can happen. However, it should not happen. This was a mistake on our part. And yes, can you fire somebody for this? Yes, you can. Because this could be a FERPA violation. This could be a federal issue. Students' performance are not supposed to be broadcast publicly, okay? Yes, it was unintentional. The fact that these two professors are having this conversation itself is not a problem. In my view, they are doing what the university's bias training is telling them to do, or I should say anti-bias training. We don't need any training in bias. So they go to these trainings and they say, talk to your fellow professors about the implicit biases that you might have. And they encourage this. And so they're doing this. This is perfectly good discussion. The mistake made was that they divulged it to the rest of the public. And the fact that there's only one student involved here could be a bigger problem for them down the road. And yes, it's embarrassing if you're in that class and you're black. I get that. I mean, it's what happens when you divulge private conversations. People get embarrassed. This is why we have them private, so that other students or the other student can't hear what you're saying, so that you can have these frank conversations about people and not have them broadcast. The recording was online for about 2 weeks before students noticed the conversation between Sellers and Batson, Ahmad said. The video was reported Monday morning and then taken down soon after, he said. In a statement Wednesday evening, Traynor said he had learned this week about a conversation between two faculty members that included reprehensible statements concerning the evaluation of black students. He called the content of the video abhorrent. No, the content wasn't the problem. Again, they're supposed to have these conversations. And if it turns out that black students are scoring really low in your class, you need to have the academic freedom to bring that up to your colleagues. This is a problem. You're supposed to try to fix the problem, but you may not know how. Your colleagues are the best source for support in that regard. And so training always encourages professors to have these conversations, and that's exactly what they're doing. In a petition, the Black Law Students Association also called on the law school to conduct an audit of sellers grading and student evaluations. And so we're going to now work it out to where they're going to get higher grades. Now you might think, oh, come on there, Dredd man, that's being unfair. You wait. That's what's going to happen here. The students are going to be given extra credit for certain things. They're going to be given extra time to do their exams from this point on, and they're probably going to be allowed to go back and redo any homework assignments that they got low scores on. That's going to be the recourse here. It also wants the school to assess and improve its subjective grading system and commit to hiring more black professors. So we got rid of the white professors. Now we're going to be able to hire a couple of black professors to replace them. These racist statements reveal not only Sellers' beliefs about black students in her classes, but also how her racist thoughts have translated to racist actions. The group of Black Law students said, Professor Sellers' bias has impacted the grades of black students in her classes historically. In her own words, no, that is not what she said. She said that she was concerned. Well, Professor Batson said that he was concerned that he might have some sort of bias that might affect his scoring of the students. She agreed. At no point does she say, I graded my black students low because I don't like them. That's kind of what he's trying to say that she said. The group has urged Batson to publicly apologize for failing to condemn Sellers' statements. In other words, he was supposed to step in there and say, hey, you can't be talking like this. In which she would have responded saying, did you hear the last training that we went to where we were urged to do this kind of discussion here? He, under no circumstances, was supposed to condemn her statements because she's doing what the university says she should do. Although years removed from law school, Tiffany Wright said she was disgusted by the news from her alma mater. There is kind of interesting comment here about another professor that got into hot water. The recent incident comes months after black law students said Carrie Menkel-Meadow, professor emerita at Georgetown Law and professor at the University of California at Irvine School of Law, used the N-word in a class she was teaching at the California school. Now, that sounds pretty bad, right? But context. How was the word used? In what context was it used? Okay, listen, read a little bit further. In September, the Black Law Students Association said Professor Menkel-Meadow's offensive words and rationalizations are dangerous and unacceptable. She claims to understand the pain that offensive epithets cause, yet will not apologize for the harm her own usage of the N-word has caused for her own students. And you get the impression that she got mad at a black student and called him the N-word. In an email Thursday, Menkel-Meadow denied using the word, but said it was in an article she assigned to students about regulating hate speech. Menkel-Meadow said that the article had been used for several years and that no one had objected to it or the assignment. And now they're looking for people to get fired. And if you open that up in any way, you're asking for it. So what's a professor to do? Well, the university training is going to tell them to get comfortable talking about race with your colleagues. Is that good advice? In the comments below, let me know how you would handle that. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.